Good morning, Tampa Bay. Happy Tuesday. I hope everybody had a good long Labor Day weekend. Welcome to another edition of Channelside in the Morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network. We're going through a whole rebranding phase right now with Channelside Sports. We got a lot of cool new graphics coming out. We got a lot of cool stuff coming out with Channelside Sports here as we prepare for college football season, which of course got underway this past weekend. NFL season starts, guys. NFL season starts on freaking Thursday. I know our Bucks don't play until Sunday night, but NFL season is upon us, baby. So we're gonna look into some of the games. Of course, you know we've got Channelside Bets is coming this week. Going to be live Sunday morning right before kickoff. Try to get you prepared for your daily fantasy league and your fantasy leagues as well. Try to help you win your league, help you win a few bucks. This is what we're going to be doing, guys. The Rays are continuing to roll. I know the record shows that they're 7-3 in their last 10. However, they should be on a 7-game winning streak as the umpire blew a terrible, absolutely terrible strike out of the zone, which cost the Yandy Diaz, which cost the Rays to lose to the Yankees. And of course, you know, the conspiracies, which I'm always a fan of conspiracies. I mean, come on, guys. But yeah, that kind of sucked because that was definitely something that the Rays had for the taking. And you know, the conspiracy, of course, now is, well, the MLB needs to make sure that the Yankees stay in first place, which I don't necessarily agree with. But, hey, it is what it is. There was a called strike. Even though it wasn't a strike, we got to move on. We got to move forward, finish business against the Red Sox. I don't know if you guys heard. Unfortunately, USF got absolutely destroyed on Saturday after the rain delay. But the Florida Gators got the upset over Utah, 29-26 over number 7 Utah, preseason number 7, of course. So what does that mean for the Gators? Of course, we got some Billy Napier comments, but what does that mean for the Gators? We're gonna start it off. We're gonna start it off with the Rays today, though, because we're going. Obviously, you know, we're gonna go heavy Buccaneers, heavy NFL this week. So we got to give baseball some love. Regular season is coming to a wind down, and you got to give the guys some love. I mean, you have to, guys. We just have to. Of course, they got the win yesterday, 4-3 over the Boston Red Sox, and the call that I'm talking about was on Sunday against the Yankees, 2-1 loss against the Yankees. Yandy Diaz assumed that it was a ball, which would have been a ball 4 walk. Unfortunately, it was out of the strike zone. And, you know, the commentary team did hit the nail on the head. And, you know, while it sucks and it's annoying that it was clearly out of the zone, but it was called a strike. That was very consistent for the entire game. And that, like I said, guys, that really sucks. That to me, that gives that argument of the robo umps, that gives that a little more steam, because now you're affecting not just a game. You know, if this happens in April, May, June, hell, even July, if this happens early in the season, we're probably not talking about the possibility and the potential of screwing a team out of a playoff spot. And I know the old adage of don't let a game be close enough to where the referees or umpires in this matter can affect the game. But it's a little different in baseball, right? To me, it's a little bit different in baseball because you're looking at, if you're playing basketball, you have a lot more control over the game in basketball than you do in baseball. Same goes for football. Same goes for hockey to an extent. Baseball, you're kind of when you're at the batter's box, you're really at the liberty of the other team's pitcher. Is the pitcher Is he throwing good stuff? Is the heat coming off the mound? Are the sinkers sinking? Are the sliders sinking? Like there's way too many more variables. So that old adage of don't let the game be close enough for the referees to decide doesn't necessarily work in this case. Like I said, is it unfortunate? It absolutely 100% is unfortunate. But that's the reality of what we have to live with at the rate as Rays fans. 2 more games tonight and Wednesday against the Red Sox, and then we head to New York to take on the Yankees for a 3-game weekend series, followed by the 5-game series in Toronto. And to me, this is probably the most important 10-game stretch for the remainder of the season, because this is where you can either A, take over first place or cut back to like a 1-game lead. If you are Tampa, handle your business against the Red Sox, get the 2 more W's, sweep this series, and then sweep the Yankees. Guy, it was right there. You had a 9-0 victory on Friday over the Yankees, followed by a 2-1 win and then a 2-1 loss, which is arguably should not have happened to begin with. Nonetheless, it did. Got to move on from that. But then you're looking at a win yesterday against the Red Sox. If you handle your business and you can win the next 5 games, you're heading into Toronto possibly 2 games behind the Yankees. You're firmly cementing yourself in second place. And then if you handle your business against the Blue Jays in Toronto, win 3, win 4 of those games, you're now you are cemented in second place, because you've got the Rangers, you've got the Astros, you've got the Blue Jays once again, the Guardians, the Astros again, and then you're going to close the season with the Red Sox. On October 5th is the last game of the regular season for baseball. We're now looking at a Rays team that is 96.9% benefactors of making the playoffs. So it's pretty much a certainty at this point. It's a matter of seeding. And you are, as the Tampa Bay Rays, you're now looking at where do you want to be seated? Of course you want to be seated in the number 1 wild card spot. But what happens if they do happen to pass the Yankees? There was a time not too long ago where I said, yeah, but it's 8 games. We didn't expect the Rays to win 2 out of 3. The Yankees, Evan called it earlier in the season. RBLR Sports called it earlier in the season. The Yankees are going to have some sort of collapse or fall apart or losing streak or something. They're going to have that in September. And it started right before September and kind of has carried over into the month of September, which now we're talking about, well, it was an 8-game streak, or it was an 8-game gap between the Yankees and the Rays. Now it's down to 5. What happens if you sweep the Yankees? Right? That's where you really, this is where you make your move. I said it all week last week. This is where you pounce. This is the time to pounce. Obviously, they got a 5-2 win over the Twins yesterday. It is possible. It's possible that the Twins come back and they handle some business, because they've got 3 more games against the Twins. They have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Here's the best part for the Rays is that the Yankees haven't. Remember when the Rays played like 11 straight days? This is basically where the Yankees streak is. They had September 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. They don't have a day off until after September 11th. Which, oh, by the way, is the Sunday, which wraps up the series against the Tampa Bay Rays. So for a team that is struggling, for a team that is having a hard time getting it all back together and finding the rhythm that they had to start the season, again, absolute perfect time to play against the New York Yankees if you're the Tampa Bay Rays. capitalize on it, close that gap, and just make it. Look, you can kill two birds with one stone over these next 10 games if you're the Rays. And that's the important part about this. You remember before when I gave the Rays their 2-week notice, and a lot of you guys go, "Oh, well, 2-week notice to not make the playoff." No. It was a 2-week notice because that was a very, very important 2 weeks. And what did the Rays do? They doubled their win total over their losses over those 2 weeks. Over those 14 games, they doubled their win. Here's where this is the most important. I can't stress this enough. This is the most important 10 games of the remainder of the season, possibly of your entire season, because you're talking about a difference between possibly, very, very possibly taking over first place in the AL East. First wild card, second wild card. You got to remember the Mariners are streaking right now as well. The Mariners are on a 7-game win streak. Arguably, the Rays could be on a 7-game winning streak of their own currently as well. Sour grapes at this point, guys. You got to move on, got to move forward. But I'll tell you, it's a very fun scenario. And this is when you want baseball to be fun, right? Because football is here. So any amount of fun that baseball had kind of gets pushed back to the wayside unless you're a diehard baseball fan. If you're a fan of, let's say, because it's not a Sunday night game against the Rays. Or actually it is. But okay, so let's use this as an example. If you're a fan of both the Rays and the Buccaneers, Sunday night comes, Sunday night football, week 1 in Dallas for the Buccaneers, or Sunday night baseball towards the end of the season, Rays and Yankees. What's more exciting? What are you going to be tuning into? And don't tell me you're going to split screen, you're going to stream it on one. I want to hear, like, where is your sole focus going to be? Let me know in the chat. I can tell you where my sole focus is going to be, and it's going to be on the BUCS Cowboys Sunday night football game. And I've been dissecting and talking about Rays baseball literally every single morning, Monday through Friday on Channelside in the morning. So to say that I'm not a fan of the Rays is ridiculous, but football. And that's it, guys. It's football time. Football season is upon us. Of course, I'm going to have a keen eye on what's happening with the Rays. But if I have to choose between what is going to be on my screen, it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's just the way that's the way that it works. Football is by large the superior sport in the United States, by large the superior sport in this area. I'm not going to talk about the stadium and the team being located in St. Petersburg, because I still think that is a large part of the reason why this is not, a huge baseball town. I could be wrong. I would be happy to be wrong. I would be happy to see the Rays move into Tampa and then just kind of convert into a baseball town. I think this is still always going to be a hockey town. Oh, which, by the way, here we go again. September, October. This is the most exciting 2-month stretch in all of sports. Baseball is ramping up for the playoffs. And when you're lucky enough to have a team like the Tampa Bay Rays, sure, we've got a crappy stadium. Sure, we don't spend a lot of money, but we always seem to be in the thick of it come September, don't we? And this is a very impressive stretch for this team right now, because how many guys have been on IL for the season? And now Shane McClanahan is on the 15-day IL. This is the most exciting 60 days in sports if you are a fan of multiple sports, because baseball is ramping up for the playoffs. Hockey is getting ready for the puck drop next month. Just over 30 days away, we've got the Tampa Bay Lightning season opening October 11th against the New York Rangers. College football is starting. Whether you're a fan of USF, the Gators, the Seminoles, Michigan, it doesn't matter who you're a fan of. College football is here. NFL is here. Basketball starts at the end of October. Everything is rolling right now, and it's the best 60 days to be a sports fan. And it doesn't matter what sport you're a fan of, because all of it is here and all of it is going on, and it's all important. In both college football and NFL, every single game is important. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, it's not that important. I had so many people try to tell me that when I was talking about the game by game predictions of people going, oh, well, there's no way they're going to lose to the Steelers. They can't lose to the Steelers. The Steelers are trash. The Steelers are, we don't know what's going to happen with the Steelers. And there you go, guys. That is your trap game. That's why that's called a trap game. You're writing the Steelers off who have a top 5 defense. You're writing the Steelers off who have a top 5 running back. You're writing the Steelers off who have the most success, who has the most successful coach over the last 15 years in terms of win-loss record. You're writing the Steelers off who just named Mitchell Trubisky as their starting quarterback, who the last time he was a starting quarterback with a competent coach was Matt Nagy's first season, and he was a Pro Bowler. Kenny Pickett is going to be a stud wide receiver. Deontay Johnson is a stud wide receiver. Chase Claypool has all of the tools. He just doesn't have the mental capacity to be a stud receiver. And that, my friends, that is the makings of a trap game. When you're already writing a team off because you don't think they're a threat. New Orleans is not a trap game. New Orleans is a threat. For some reason, the Buccaneers can't get it done against the New Orleans Saints in the regular season. Arguably, that doesn't matter, because if we play them in the playoffs, we're 1-0 in the playoffs. I still think that the Bucs are going to get one off, and it's going to be the game in Tampa in the latter half of the season. They will. I think they. I'm still on the fence at the Buccaneers. I think are going to lose in the Superdome in week 2. We got to have talking points, guys. Right? We've got to have talk. We always talk about Vegas knows things and the NFL's a business and blah blah blah, and storylines and TV ratings, and I'm not a believer in that, but conspiracy theories are fun to talk about. Let's be honest here, guys. Let's for real. Let's be honest. But yeah, conspiracy theories are just they're fun. They really are. Who do I think is going to lead the team in receiving? Question came over from Twitter, by the way, and you guys remember, if you are streaming on other platforms, thank you. However, at the bottom of the hour at 8:30, Twitter and Facebook streams will stop, and we will be exclusively on YouTube. So please make sure you switch over to YouTube, hit that subscribe, and hit the thumbs up button if you are enjoying the show, and jump in the chat. It's always fun. It's always fun. It's a good time, man. I love chatting it and chopping it up with you guys, especially early in the morning. And like I said, I can't get any more excited. I'm going to be super amped over these next 60 days. Every morning. You think I was crazy before. I'm going to be so much more amped now because it's so exciting. Who do I think is going to lead the team in receiving yards? Receiving yards, I think, is going to end up being Chris Godwin. He's not practicing with the knee brace anymore, which is absolutely incredible. Of course, he had the orange no contact jersey on, but he has no knee brace, which leads me to believe that everything that we have heard about Chris Godwin trending to play on Sunday night is probably going to be accurate. He's got to be a game time decision. That's the smart move if you're Todd Bowles. It's a smart move if you're Byron Leftwich. Make Chris Godwin a game time decision. That way the Cowboys have to game plan for him, whether he's going to play or not, because Chris Godwin is a different type of receiver than Julio Jones is, than Russell Gage is, than Scott. Chris Godwin is a different type of receiver. Chris Godwin is the closest type of receiver to an Antonio Brown in his prime that you can get. Make him a game time decision. Don't blow it early. Don't say, yep, Chris Godwin's definitely playing week 1. Say Chris Godwin is a game time decision. I know that's going to screw up a lot of people's fantasy lineups, But if we're being totally honest, if you're playing Chris Godwin week 1 coming off an ACL injury when he's a game time decision, that's on you, man. That's on you. You should have planned way better. If Chris Godwin was one of your top 1-2 wide receiver picks, that's your fault, guys. That's your fault. Don't play Chris Godwin week 1, even if he is fully healthy. Play the safe route and don't play Chris Godwin. I'm sure our guys over at Channelside Bets will tell you that on Sunday morning as well. Chris Godwin sitting on your bench riding the pine week 1 is the safe bet. If he scores 45 points on the bench, so be it. Hopefully the rest of your team is good enough to pick up the slack. Who do I think is going to lead the team in sacks? Who do I think is going to lead the team in sacks? I think that's an interesting question because I think there's a couple of different guys that can do it. My instincts want to tell me that it's going to be Devin White, though. I don't know why, but I feel like Devin White is going to have a career year this season. I just feel like it's in the making. Like I can just sense it. My spidey senses are tingling. My spidey senses are tingling when it comes to Devin White. And I really think that he is going to be the guy. And I think that he's going to lead the team in sacks. I did see somebody say that they think he's going to break Shaq Barrett's record. I don't think he's going to break Shaq Barrett's record. But I could see 13, 14 sacks for Devin White this season to lead the team. And that to me, like I said, that's not a crazy number, but that's a respectable number. And I think this is the season where Devin White puts it all back together and kind of lives up to that resume that he wrote for himself his rookie season. I'm still on board, 100% on board. Carlton Davis going to lead the league in interceptions. Top five. I'm not going to say lead the league, but top 5. Carlton Davis will be top 5 in interceptions. I'd love for him to be the leader in the NFL in interceptions. I just don't know if he's going to. It's a big money year for Carlton Davis. You got to live up and you got to earn that paycheck, man. It's a big money year for Carlton Davis. Got to do everything you can. You know, Mike Edwards talked about the team being more ball hawks because they weren't that great in interceptions. You know, I think it was John Madden who used to say it all the time. A cornerback is nothing but a wide receiver that can't catch, which is pretty damn accurate. You know, that's why when you've got a cornerback like a Rondé Barber, you know, Rondé Barber arguably could have doubled as a wide receiver. That's why Deion Sanders was so successful as a cornerback and as a wide receiver, because he was a cornerback that could catch. So when the Cowboys said, "Hey, we're gonna line you up a wide receiver every now and then," it wasn't anything that was too crazy because he already could catch the ball pretty damn good. But I think that we're gonna look at a Devin White led sacking effort for the Buccaneers. I'm seeing some Vita Vea comments rolling in through Twitter. And if your nose tackle leads the team in sacks, your defensive line is getting a shit ton of penetration. Because if an interior defensive lineman is leading the team in sacks, then this defense could be one for the ages. This could be the best defense the Buccaneers have ever had if that's the case. I don't think that happens. I mean, God forbid it does. I'd be stoked, but I don't think that happens. I really don't. Shaq Barrett, I think, is going to have a bounce back year. I still think that Devin White's going to lead the team in sacks, but I think Shaq Barrett definitely has a bounce back year. He for the most part, Shaq Barrett was kind of just like out of it. You know, last season he definitely just seemed like he was not quite there, right? And I think that's what you have to look at, is that he's got to bounce back. He wants to, you know. Tom Brady, I think, is going to be Tom Brady is, I don't want to say he's going to be a liability. Like, I don't want to use the wrong word when I talk about what I expect from Tom Brady. But here's the thing is Tom Brady had 719 passing attempts last season. NFL record. Most passing attempts, and that's a ridiculous number. I don't know if Tom Brady is going to be able to drop back 719 times with the questions in the offensive line department. But the saving grace for the offensive line is that they're better pass blockers than run blockers. And by they, I'm talking about Robert Hainsey and Nick Leverett. Like, these guys are better pass blockers than they are run blockers. All the stats are there. You can look them up. I'm not talking sideways. They're better pass blockers than run blockers. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to run into an issue of the Bucs not really being able to run the ball. Do you remember back in the day when you would watch let's use the Detroit Lions for an example, because they had such a long stretch of not being able to eclipse 1,000-yard rusher, and we knew they were going to pass the ball. This is where I think Rachaad White is going to be a standout, because Rachaad White is a damn good pass blocker. He can read blitzes, he can pick up the zone, and he's able to protect Tom Brady when he needs. And that's the thing for Rachaad White, is that's why I think he's going to see a lot of playing time, is because he is the best blocking running back. And if you've got questions at center and left guard, put your best running back out there to block and protect Tom Brady. You know, Russell Gage said that they've got a pick your poison offense when it comes to the wide receiving core, and he can't be any more correct. This is an absolutely insane wide receiving core. I've already said this before. This is the best wide receiving core the Buccaneers have ever had. I don't care if Julio Jones goes down in week 1 and misses like 9-10 weeks. This is still the best wide receiving core that the Buccaneers have ever had. And I'm an Antonio Brown football player fan. not all the other stuff. Whether you think it's CTE or not, like I'm not an Antonio Brown off the field antics guy. And yeah, and of course, Gina, that's always a subjective when healthy. Of course, that they've still got four stud receivers, and then everybody's boy Scotty Miller. But I digress. You've got the best wide receiving core that the Bucs have ever had. So Tom Brady, if Tom Brady's going to step back and pass 719 times again, which is, it's very feasible because they're going to have a hard time running the ball. It doesn't matter how good Leonard Fournette is. It doesn't matter how elusive Keshawn Vaughn is. If your offensive line struggles in creating holes, you're going to have a tough time. Unless somebody really looks like a Barry Sanders-esque running back, the Bucs are going to have a very tough time running the ball, which can work out into their benefit because you can't double everybody. You can't double Evans and Godwin and Jones and let's say they run with a 4 wide receiver set. You're going to get burned by somebody every time. Every single time you're going to get burned by somebody. So it is a pick your poison 100%. Guys, we have reached the bottom of the hour. Facebook is dropping off. Twitter is dropping off, and we are being exclusive on YouTube. Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Loose Cannon's Leprechaun. Already hopping over to the YouTube stream. I appreciate it. Guys, when you hop over, please make sure you hit that thumbs up button. That's going to help push us to the homepage of YouTube when we're doing these live streams, and it's just going to make more fun for you because eventually trolls will come. And I have a feeling that Loose Cannon Leprechaun and Gene and Jay, when he joined, I have a feeling that you guys are going to feed the trolls and it's going to entertain me, but I'm not going to let you pop me. I will not. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back. We're going to be back on Facebook and Twitter tomorrow at 8 from 8 to 8:30. But swing over to YouTube. Let's do it. Let's keep rolling. Look, guys, I am ready. Getting me ready. Hey, there you go. There we go. I'm so amped. I'm so amped for football season, guys. I really like I don't know how much more excited we can be. Who's watching? Like, I tell my wife this every year, and I'm going to apologize to her now in advance. Hopefully she's on the YouTube. I tell her this every year. I'm not going to watch every game. Yeah, I'm sorry. That never happens. I mean, look, Thursday night, Buffalo at LA. Like, come on. Are you kidding? Like, Josh Allen versus Matthew Stafford. You guys know how much I love Matthew Stafford. He spent all of his career in Detroit. I love Matthew Stafford. I love Josh Allen. Buffalo at LA is going to be a fantastic, absolutely fantastic game. I'm looking forward to seeing Allen Robinson in a Rams uniform and revitalizing his career from the atrocity and the atrociousness that was the Chicago Bears coaching staff, which was terrible. I'm looking forward to all. Who do you guys think is going to win? Let's roll through here because I know you guys are in the chat here ready. Buffalo at LA. I wanted to do this on Friday, but I can't wait. I can't wait to do this. Buffalo at LA. I'm going. You know what? I'm a fan of the LA Rams, and I don't think the LA Rams were a fluke or paper champions. I know some people are saying that. But I think Buffalo is going to be the team to beat this year. I think it's going to be Buffalo and Tampa in the Super Bowl. I'm rolling Buffalo week 1. I think Buffalo is going to travel out west, and I know that teams travel out west and struggle a lot. But man, the Buffalo Bills got better in the offseason, and the Rams kind of stayed the same, which is still a very damn good team, but the Rams stayed the same while the Bills got better. All right, so we're splitting the chat as well, which is, I mean, hey, that's totally fine by me. But I'm just so excited. So we're splitting the chat. Rams by 2 touch. Good Lord, Gene thinks this is going to be a landslide. All right, Gene. All right. Atlanta's hosting New Orleans on Sunday. Look, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think between New Orleans and Atlanta. I think Atlanta is a sleeper team this year. However, having said that, I think New Orleans is just going to be the better team, and New Orleans is going to pick up the W over Atlanta. I think that that's got to be. If New Orleans loses to Atlanta, New Orleans better watch out. They're going to be in a lot of trouble. But I think that New Orleans gets the W against Atlanta. San Francisco traveling to Chicago. Look, Chicago is a very, very underrated team. And the Bears are underrated because we don't know what to expect from the Bears because they've got all new coaching staff. They did get rid of Khalil Mack. They did get rid of Allen Robinson. So, is Darnell Mooney going to step up? Is he going to be the legit wide receiver one for this team now? There's so many questions when it comes to the Chicago Bears. Whereas the San Francisco 49ers are largely the same team last year as they were. So I think that the 49ers are going to travel to Chicago. And yeah, the quarterback is still a question, Gene. You know, is Justin Fields able to make that leap? Right? I don't know. I don't think that Justin Fields showed me enough last season to take the leap. Trey Lance is still largely unproven, but I think in terms of if we're comparing parallel apples to apples, they were both rookies last year. I think Trey Lance is in a better situation, and I think that Trey Lance is further along in his progression and his development. I think that's where we are. I do think I see a lot of running in this game as well. I see a lot of running. I think David Montgomery is going to have a I think he's going to have a big game. I think Eli Mitchell's going to have a big game as well. The thing I think the thing that is the X factor though is if the 49ers come out of the gates firing. I think this is where it turns into a passing game, and then it becomes a Trey Lance and Justin Fields game. The coaching is better in San Francisco, yes, but you have to remember they lost their offensive genius in Mike McDaniel. And we don't know what the coaching in Chicago is like. That's the problem. Like, we can't say the coaching is better than it is in Chicago because you don't know what the coaching is going to be like in Chicago. They got a new GM, they've got all new coaching staff, and we don't know how that's going to play out. We know that the roster is a hell of a lot better for the 49ers than it is for the Bears. AFC North showdown, Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. I'm high on Pittsburgh this season. I talked about it at the top of the show. Pittsburgh is going to be a largely undervalued team this season, but I still think Cincinnati is not going to have a Super Bowl hangover. Cincinnati's playing at home. I think Pittsburgh is going to open up a lot of people's eyes week 1. I think Mitchell Trubisky is going to have a standout season. He's going to look kind of like the Mitchell Trubisky we saw during his Pro Bowl run in Chicago, but Cincinnati is going to get the W. Cincinnati is just too deep, man. Outside of the Buccaneers, nobody else is close in receiving corps other than the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are just it's a ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous wide receiving corps. Add Joe Mixon to add cool swaggy Joe Burrow to it, and guys, this is a team. Which by the way has Alex Kappa. It's going to be a very, very good matchup. AFC North matchups are always fun to me, but I think that the Bengals get it done. Philly traveling to Detroit. I don't want to be a homer. I don't want to go, oh man, I'm buying in. It's going to be Detroit. Because Philadelphia might have the best put together roster in the entire NFL. It's a fact. They might have the best put together roster. If you take away the quarterbacks, take away Tom Brady, take away Jalen Hurts, the Eagles may have the best put together roster in the NFL. Having said that, if the Detroit Lions can pull out the victory over Philly, I'm going Philly in this. I think the Lions are going to start the season 0-1. However, if the Lions can pull it off and upset the Philadelphia Eagles in week 1, I think this is a very scary and very determined Detroit Lions team. I had them going 6-11, which was double their win total from last year, but it is still a large improvement. And I really, really think that this is going to be a scary team. And the NFC North will need to watch out because the NFC North, in my opinion, is wide open. I think the NFC North is still, I think it is wide open. I think people are giving Green Bay way too much respect for whatever reason that is. I think they're giving way too much respect, whether you're putting it all on Aaron Rodgers, whether you want to talk about the defense or Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon combination in the backfield. I think that people are putting too much respect on Green Bay. And if we're going to be realistic, you got to move on from Green Bay. I think the NFC North is wide open. New England and Miami. I like Miami in this. I like Miami a lot this season, and not just because of Tyreek Hill. I like Miami a lot because I am a believer in Mike McDaniel, and Mike McDaniel is a believer in Tua Tagovailoa, and Brian Flores was not. And Tua still had a pretty decent season while he had a coach that was possibly trying to sabotage his season because he wanted to get Sean Watson in Miami. Add in the fact that Tyreek Hill is here now. You already had a very, very good quarterback wide receiving combination with Jalen Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa. And now you add Tyreek Hill, who is a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, add him to the mix. The Miami Dolphins are now a very scary offense. You got to remember, they just cut Sony Michel. Sony Michel looked good last season for the Rams while he was filling in for Cam Akers, who was out with that Achilles. Sony Michel looked good, and he was cut. Chase Edmond is going to take over the reins as running back 1 in Miami, and this is a team that you're going to have to watch out for, especially if you're in the AFC East. Baltimore traveling to the Jets. Baltimore all the way. The Jets improved. Robert Saleh is a good defensive coordinator. We saw what he could do in San Francisco. And you got to remember, San Francisco, when they turned into a solid defending team, it was a lot of guys that were good players, but a lot of them that were almost role players that kind of evolved and emerged into star defenders. So New York, I think, is on the right track. If you got to roll Joe Flacco at quarterback, I'm not sold, man. Jacksonville traveling to Landover to take on the Washington Commanders. I love the Commanders on defense. I think Antonio Gibson is a great running back. I think that Terry McLaurin is a top 12 wide receiver in the NFL. I'm rolling Jacksonville. I'm sold on Jacksonville this season. I think they had a lot of the right pieces last year, but they had an incompetent Urban Meyer head coach. Travis Etienne is going to be back this season. I mean, guys, they got Christian Kirk. So now you've got Christian Kirk. You've got Marvin Jones Jr. I think Trevor Lawrence can finally settle in. You've got James Robinson will be back this year. I think Jacksonville is a team to watch out for. I think they're going to be largely undervalued as well. But I'm having Jacksonville go into Washington and pick up the W. Cleveland at Carolina. I'm going Carolina. I know Cleveland's got the best 1-2 punch in terms of running back. I know Cleveland's got one of the best offensive lines. Who's starting at quarterback week 1 for the Cleveland Browns? Oh, it's not Baker Mayfield because he's starting for the Carolina Panthers at quarterback in week 1. Amari Cooper is look. I love Amari Cooper as a wide receiver. I like the Cleveland defense, but I think that Carolina is a chip on the shoulder team right now. Baker Mayfield is going to play pissed off football. Christian McCaffrey is going to play pissed off football. The defense is going to be improved. Stephon Gilmore still you've got all of these pieces in Carolina. I think Carolina is going to win 6 games this season, possibly more. You know, instead of 6-11, maybe they go 7-10, 8-9, maybe. But I think this Carolina gets it done against Cleveland at home in week 1. Indianapolis traveling to Houston. I'm not sold on anything Houston Texans. I'm really not. I know they've got Tyler Johnson. Big deal. Tyler Johnson had Tom Brady throwing to him, and now he has Davis Mills throwing to him. Matt Ryan in Indianapolis is going to thrive. The last time Matt Ryan had a solid wide receiver and running back duo, he went to the Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons with Devontae Freeman and Julio Jones. I'm not saying that the Colts are going to make a Super Bowl run, but Jonathan Taylor is a better running back now than Devontae Freeman ever was. And I love Devontae Freeman, but Jonathan Taylor is a much better running back than Freeman ever was. Michael Pittman Jr. is a stud. T.Y. Hilton, if he stays healthy, is a stud. And Matt Ryan can still sling the ball. We saw what he could do last season. He turned Russell Gage into a commodity for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in offseason. Indianapolis is going to get the W over Houston. I didn't think that was going to be a question anyway. The Giants are traveling to Tennessee. The Giants, to me, are an interesting team, but I need to see the Giants play more before I'm sold on them. Brian Daboll, I think, is a much more competent coach, but I need to see the Giants in action before they can sell me. Kind of like picking the Saints over the Bucks in week 2. I need to see the Bucks show me something and prove to me that they can make things happen. I need the Giants to prove to me that they can move the ball. Joe Judge was an absent-minded head coach. QB sneak on 4th and 6. Come on. Come on. So I'm going to go Tennessee at home. We know what we're going to get with Tennessee. Now, it will be interesting because Tennessee doesn't have A.J. Brown anymore. So it will be interesting to see what Tennessee does, because when A.J. Brown went down, they depended on Julio Jones, and Julio Jones isn't there either. So seeing what happens in Tennessee is going to be interesting. Green Bay traveling to Minnesota. Here's my I don't even want to call it an upset, but I think Minnesota is going to handle business and they're going to get it done. People trash Kirk Cousins all the time. If you're going to draft a quarterback late, pick up Kirk Cousins, because he's going to finish in the top 6 of every measurable quarterback statistic, just like he has the last 4 seasons. People talk trash about Kirk Cousins and say, well, he can't get it done in the playoffs. Well, A, this is week 1 of the regular season. Playoffs are irrelevant. And B, if you're talking about fantasy football, you're not going to play in the playoffs anyway. Pick up Kirk Cousins. Stop sleeping on Kirk Cousins. Stop trashing Kirk Cousins. He's going to get it done. A healthy Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is ridiculously good when he's healthy. He's a dual threat, running and passing catcher. Justin Jefferson, top 3 wide receiver in the league. Adam Thielen has all of the makings to always be a top 18 to 20 wide receiver in the NFL. They've got a good defense in Minnesota. I'm going Minnesota is with, I guess, an upset is what we have to call it, because everybody's favoring the Green Bay Packers in the NFC North. Kansas City traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Here we go, guys. I'm going Cardinals. I'm not on the Kansas City Chiefs bandwagon this season. I am not on the Chiefs this season. I think the Chiefs are going to finish. This isn't even a hot take, because I've already said this a couple times. Chiefs are going to finish last in the AFC West. The AFC West is going to be the closest division possibly ever, and it's going to come down to multiple layers of tiebreakers, in my opinion, between the AFC West teams. But the Chiefs, I don't think, get it done in Arizona. I know DeAndre Hopkins is gone for the first 6 games of the season. I believe it's either 6 or 8. But I just don't see Kansas City as a huge threat of a team currently, until we figure out and we can see them play much like the Giants, right? Because when Kansas City lost Tyreek Hill, that just shifted all the defenders' focus onto Travis Kelce. Now we know Juju Smith-Schuster is there. We know McCole Hardman is there. They have the possibility of being a solid team, but I need to see it first. And it's not a slight on Patrick Mahomes, but when you're not playing fundamental football, it depends on your chemistry. He just hasn't had the time to develop the chemistry like he did with Tyreek Hill, and he has with Travis Kelce. So I need to see them in action before I'm a believer. The Raiders taking on the Chargers. I'm so pumped for this game. I'm so pumped to watch the Raiders and the Chargers play. And I'll tell you why, because both teams were winners in the offseason. If you can get the best wide receiver in the NFL on your team to add to the most sure-handed wide receiver in the NFL in Hunter Renfrow, and that is a fact, Hunter Renfrow was the most sure-handed wide receiver in the NFL last season. Pair them with Darren Waller and Derek Carr. Look, Derek Carr, and I know that Devontae Adams was kind of speaking tongue-in-cheek. Derek Carr is not a Hall of Fame quarterback, but Derek Carr is a very good top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Give him the number 1 wide receiver. If Josh Jacobs can stay healthy, this team is going to be very scary. AFC West, I'm telling you guys, AFC West is the division to watch. This game should have been shifted to Monday. Well, yeah, this game should have been shifted to Monday Night Football. Tampa at Dallas, of course. I didn't even give you my pick for the last game. I have to go Chargers. I have to go Chargers in this simply because I feel more confident in the Chargers than I do in the Chargers defense than I do in the Raiders defense. And that's the only deciding factor for me, is that I think the Chargers defense is going to be a bend but don't break defense in this game much more effectively than the Raiders will be. Sunday night football, our Tampa Bay Buccaneers are traveling to Dallas. Of course, you know, if you watched the show on Friday, I've got the Bucs traveling to Jerry's World, handling business on Sunday night football and taking care of the Dallas Cowboys, going 1-0 on the season. I think the Cowboys are a very good team, but the Cowboys have too many question marks right now. We know that the Cowboys are good when they run the ball. The Cowboys were 7-0 last season when they ran the ball with Zeke or Tony Pollard, a combination of 21 or more times. So we know that they're going to run the ball. The problem is they only did it 7 out of 17 games last season. Amari Cooper's not there. Is Michael Gallup going to emerge as wide receiver 1? We know Michael Gallup is a good wide receiver. Is CeeDee Lamb going to be wide receiver 1? There's so many questions about who, and we know what the depth chart says. But I'm very much a believer that CeeDee Lamb was a product of Amari Cooper being out on the field, because you have to respect Amari Cooper. He didn't live up to the ridiculous amount of money that he was given in his contract, and that's fine. That doesn't make him any less of a wide receiver, but I think that CeeDee Lamb was a product of Amari Cooper. So not having Cooper factored into the equation, I think presents a huge question mark for the Dallas Cowboys. Are they going to run the ball? I think you have to take into consideration that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary, that's not a question mark this season for us. The only question mark on this entire Buccaneers team is the offensive line. Defensive line is fine. Linebacking core is fine. Secondary is fine. And we know all of the skill positions on offense are going to be fantastic for the Buccaneers this season. I think we have to look at that. You have to say the team with less question marks is going to win, right? Like that's how it has to go. Love Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott gets a lot of hate solely because he's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. You know, and this is what's fun for me is I'm such a fan of football. Like Alvin Kamara is one of my favorite players in the NFL. He's a New Orleans Saint. You guys can hate me. Send your hate tweets to @RealDannyB. I think Alvin Kamara is one of my favorite players in the NFL. He's an absolute freak of nature, but he plays for the Saints. I'm a football fan. I have my favorite players. I have my favorite teams. I'll always be a Detroit Lions fan at heart, but I've covered the Buccaneers for the last 4 seasons, 4.5 seasons. So I'm a Buccaneers fan. I've molded into being a Buccaneers fan. And I was a Buccaneers fan before Tom Brady came, when they were struggling with Jameis Winston, right? Like I was a fan when the Buccaneers drafted Mike Evans because I loved watching Mike Evans and Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M. And of course the Bucs are the local team. You know, I spent large part of my life in Naples. Never really developed into a Miami Dolphins fan. I had a lot of players on the Dolphins I liked, you know, when Reggie Bush was there and Brandon Marshall was there, but I've always kind of been a Buccaneers fan. The defense was fun to watch in the early 2000s. Mark Dunn and Mike Allstott were great to watch, but like the Buccaneers have no question marks, man. I don't think that this is going to be their best defense, which, you know, like I said earlier in the show, if Vita Vea leads the team in sacks, this is going to be the best defense the Buccaneers have ever had, because that means that a lot of everything else is working beautifully. And I don't think that that's the case. Cowboys, like I said, you're going to go 0-1. Sorry. You're going to lose at home on Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football, this is the only matchup that I'm not excited to watch in the least bit. I am not excited to watch the Seattle Seahawks at all. Had the Seahawks made a trade and acquired Baker Mayfield instead of going to Carolina, then I'm enticed to watch the Seahawks. And I'm excited to watch the Seahawks because DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett have a formidable quarterback. I think Geno Smith does nothing for me. Drew Lock does nothing for me. Chris Cart, I'm not sold on anything Seattle Seahawks this season. And I don't think that's going to change at all. The Seahawks are, in my opinion, they're going to be a top 3 pick next season in the NFL draft. I think they're going to be that bad. Unless they completely shock everybody, I think the Seahawks are going to be a very, very bottom of the barrel team this season. The Denver Broncos, I think, are going to run all over. And like I said, I understand why it's on Monday Night Football because Russell Wilson, Seattle. But if we're going to flex a game, and I know you can't flex the Monday night game because it's an ESPN broadcast. But damn, man, it's so uninviting for your first week Monday Night Football game. It's the first game of Troy Aikman and Joe Buck being together on ESPN, and you got to call the Denver Broncos slaughtering the Seattle Seahawks on Monday night. I guess if the Broncos come out of the gates real slow, and I don't see any way that the Broncos lose this game, but I guess it could possibly be a little bit closer if the Broncos are just struggling to develop chemistry. But man, I'm not sold. Not in the least bit. And this is, like I said, to me, this is the worst game of the entire week 1 slate. And it's your nightcap, man. It's your week 1 Monday Night Football game, and it's the worst game. I hate it. Not a fan of it, but Denver's going to win for sure. I think Denver is going to possibly take the AFC West. I think it's going to this is why I think the Chiefs might finish last in the AFC West. Denver last season was a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. Denver has one of the best quarterbacks in the league now. Las Vegas was a very, very good team. They struggled to move the ball a little bit because Darren Waller went down. Now you've got the best wide receiver in the NFL. The Chargers were already a very, very good team, and they were arguably a Brandon Staley error in coaching judgment decision away from making the playoffs last season. And Justin Herbert has not even taken a small step forward in progression each season. He's taken a giant leap forward. Add all of the winning that they did in the offseason, and this is a scary Chargers team. All 3 of the 4 teams added in the AFC West, and only one team subtracted, and that was the Kansas City Chiefs. And they subtracted in a big way when they lost Tyreek Hill. Oh, week 1 is here, guys. Week 1 is here. We didn't get too much Gators talk in today. Obviously, they upset 29-26 over the Utah Utes. Number 7 preseason rank, of course, from the AP poll. When the ranks come out later, the Gators got to be in the top 25, man. You can't tell me that you don't upset the number 7 team and you don't make some sort of moves, whether it's I'm sure it's going to be in the latter half of the top 25, the AP 25, but you've got to put the Gators up there. I know Billy Napier, and here's what you got to like about Billy Napier. Instead of just being a rah-rah coach and going, yeah, we got the win, here we go. How did he open up that press conference? We played very sloppy. That's what you want from your head coach, man. That's what you want. You want your head coach to come out there, sit in your press conference and go, we played real sloppy, though. We got the W, sure, but we could play better. Anthony Richardson is going to be an absolute stud. Watch out for him in the Heisman race, especially if the Gators make some moves up. If the Gators continue to make some moves and play above where people were projecting them to play this season, better watch out for the Florida Gators and Anthony Richardson this season. Guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you to everybody that's hopped over to the YouTube, jumped in the chat. Gene, Loose Cannon Leprechaun. Thanks, everybody. We're going to be back. We're going through a rebranding phase. So stick with us if the graphics are kind of lacking on the morning show. Just wait until you see the social media stuff. Tag a friend, tell a friend, jump on the bandwagon. Channelside Sports is the future. Make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms. Just search for the Channelside Sports Network. I am Danny. This was Channelside in the Morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network, and we will see ya